A lot of people are not listening to the scientists. We have an opportunity today not only to listen to the scientists, but to project the message. Let's do it today, starting with an excellent scientist, Sandra Steingraber.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sandra Steingraber. I have a PhD in biology, and I have worked as a scientist for my whole adult life. Here are two things that biologists are worried about. First thing is happening out in our oceans. When fossil fuels are burned and CO2 fills the atmosphere, some of it falls into the sea. And when carbon dioxide touches water, it turns into carbonic acid, H2CO3. Let's all say, do some chemistry together. H2CO3. That's carbonic acid. Acid makes calcium carbonate dissolve. Calcium carbonate is CaCO3. Say that with me.
CaCO3.
So now you know some chemistry. Carbonic acid makes calcium carbonate turn into solution. Seashells are made of calcium carbonate. So fossil fuels are turning our oceans into pits of acid, and animals made of shells are starting to dissolve. Altogether, the babies of animals with shells are called zooplankton, and zooplankton are the basis of the whole marine food chain. If you dissolve their parents, zooplankton disappear, along with the fish who eat them. 1/2 of the world's population depends on fish as their source of protein, and the pH of the ocean is now on track to crash the world's fish stocks. As a biologist, I worry about that. Now let's go out on land and look at the bees. Bumblebees also have babies, and they need to stay cool. So adult bees beat their wings like 1,000 tiny ceiling fans to cool the nursery. But they can't keep up due to more intense heat waves. So baby bumblebees are dying, and bumblebee populations are crashing. Bees help plants have sex. Bees turn flowers into nuts and fruits and vegetables. 1/3 of the food we eat is made for us by bees, and they do it for free. It's called an ecosystem service in biological terms, or in spiritual terms, it's called a blessing. If we lose bees, crops fail. This is how the ecological crisis becomes a human rights crisis. Biologists are worried about this. I have studied climate change since 1982. I've testified, I've sent letters to the White House. I've met with the president's science advisor. I went to the Paris climate talks. But CO2 levels just reached a record high. And Citi is financing the arsonists. Citi has poured $396 billion into the fossil fuel industry just since 2016. So I'm here today to tell Citi that if you won't listen to the data of scientists, you will need to listen to the bodies of scientists who are blocking you down. Today, my body is a data point. And all together, these data points today on the blockade make a trend. And the trend is that when extinction rates accelerate, scientists get louder. My message to the Citi CEO, Jane Fraser, is this. I did not become a biologist to write eulogies for the species that I study. I am morally obligated to use my knowledge to defend life against extinction and oppose those who finance it. And that is why I am risking arrest today. Thank you.
our next scientist who will speak is Aren Illeri.
Hey all. So, I'm a applied political scientist. And my background is in cognitive neuroscience, so I'm really fascinated with how these city employees' brains work. And they have a mass delusion. They basically, because of the brain damage they have and we all have from fucking PFAS in our food and oil in our water and exhaust in our air, basically have helped themselves ostrich. They figured out that if they look down, if they ignore orange skies, the problem is going to go away. And the reason they're doing this is they have short-term bias and profit motivation. It's really easy. If you think about winning now, you don't need to think about what you're doing later. And so they're ignoring what even the most chummy with oil energy economists and the most high-integrity climate scientists are saying, that we should have stopped funding fossil fuels about 3 to 5 years ago, if not 20 fucking years ago. And that if they continue doing this, we will have a most certain demise. So I want you to know how to debunk two of what they say. They say we put $1 trillion into sustainable finance. Sustainable finance means hospitals, education, housing, basically anything that isn't killing people actively for them is sustainable finance. So no, not to buy that bullshit. In reality, they put $14 billion into renewables while putting double that into fossil fuels. More than that, into the expansion of fossil fuel projects incompatible with the future. This is because they believe their own lies. It is a deep issue in how the brain works. We're not built to understand climate science, so our job is to make them look up.
Okay, and with that, let's go talk to them.
Woo! No. Okay.
Like that, to left. Big science banner, can we bring it up here? We'll roll that out. We can get some yellow scientists to hold this large banner. And we will all follow it.
Upside down. Upside down.
Scientists to the front. Yellow and red scientists. Yellow scientists to the front.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yellow scientists to the front.
All right, we need a few more yellow scientists. Come on up. We'll be fine. All right, you guys spread yourselves. Yeah, great. And have we got our crews and reds? Are we crews and reds? Come on up. All right, everyone, come on up. Come on up, everybody else, come on up.
Thank you. How are you?
Come on up. Guys in the back, please get ready. All right, great. Great, let's go. Come on, let's go.
What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate justice. future too. We deserve a future too. We deserve a future too.
Citibank, shame on you!
We deserve a future too.
Citibank, shame on you!
We deserve a future too.
Citibank, shame on you!
We deserve a future too.
Citibank, shame on you!
We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Citibank, shame on you. We deserve a future too. Shame on you. We deserve a future.
get off it. Put planet over profit. Hey, city, get off it. Put planet over profit. Hey, city, get off it. Put planet over profit.
Hey, wait!
Off it. Put planet over profit.
arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct.
What are you teaching about?
We're talking about how Citi is the second largest funder of fossil fuel expansion projects in the world. And we're telling them to stop.
Since the Paris Agreement, Citi has been the #1 funder of the expansion of fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas. And we are needing them to stop immediately because they keep expanding, regardless of whatever they say, with renewable energy investments. They need to stop funding fossil fuels or else we're all screwed.
Thank you. What are you teaching about?
We are teaching about, well, I specifically am teaching about the impact of climate change on infectious disease. But we've got scientists from all sorts of fields representing the climate sciences, political sciences, social sciences, psychology, biomedical, everything.
Thank you so much.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Every bite of food that we eat, everything that we need comes from the earth. And we are right now accelerating. We're now the accelerator, destroying that very habitability, that 8 billion of us. So this is why I'm here.
Today we are here in front of Citibank. Why?
Stop fossil fuels!
Halt global heating!
Exactly. To shut down Citibank's global headquarters, because Citibank is the world's largest funder of new coal, oil, and gas. And what is that condemning all of us to? Death. Death. Destruction. Mass fires. Mass floods. Mass forced famine.
Starvation.
Mass forced migration. That's right. But don't take it from me. I've got no science background, barely could handle high school chemistry. Take it from some very, very outstanding, amazing scientists. Confession, I have no idea what the program is because Alex has been arrested. So yes, introduce yourself and me introducing you.
My name is and I'm here to read a condensed version of the scientist letter. I've passed out a few copies for people to follow along. We are here today to deliver a letter signed by over 750 scientists. We are calling on Citi to stop financing fossil fuel expansion. We cannot sit by while communities across the globe are threatened by climate impacts. Today, we are here to take action and bring the evidence to Citi directly. Climate catastrophes are wreaking havoc on lives, health, infrastructure, and ecosystems throughout the world. Those who have the fewest resources and who have done the least to contribute to the problem are being most severely harmed. Citi is the second largest financer of fossil fuels since the adoption of the Paris Climate Agreement, having poured $396 billion into the industry since 2016. As members of the scientific community, we make the following demands to Citi. 1, stop financing and supporting coal, oil, and gas companies that are engaged in upstream oil and gas development and all other companies investing in fossil fuel expansion. 2, strengthen sectoral finance exclusion policies, including ending funding and financing services for new and expanding LNG projects and their parent companies. 3, increase financing for renewable energy in line with what is required for the world to make a clean energy transition and limit global warming to as close to 1.5 degrees Celsius as possible. 4, ensure that human rights, indigenous sovereignty, and the rights of workers are respected by every company financed, including renewable energy and battery mineral mining companies. And 5, take steps to acknowledge and make restitution for the bank's role in fueling climate chaos and environmental racism around the world, and pay into a fund to support those bearing the brunt of extreme climate impacts. Given the urgency of this global crisis, Citi must adopt these measures swiftly. Rapidly phasing out fossil fuels is necessary to allow for a livable future for people and the planet.
Alex, and he got arrested. Okay, we got that.
Wait, it's on my Google Drive on my phone.
Gotta wake up! Waking up the power inside! Listen, gotta wake up!
You're up.
Waking up the people to rise, to rise, to rise, to rise!
Hi, my name's Griffin. I'm a PhD student at Columbia studying metabolic biology, well, immunometabolism. We're gonna get in the weeds about it. The fossil fuel project Citi is financing may very well cause the next pandemic. Clearly, human connection is important to everybody here. Citi employees, law enforcement, and activists alike. This may seem silly to bring up, but let us not forget nearly 4 years ago, the fear and isolation we all felt due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic is an example of a zoonosis, a disease transferring from an animal to humans. As the climate warms and habitats are destroyed, humans and animals are brought increasingly closer together. This increases the risks for what we call spillover events, when a novel or new zoonotic pathogen makes the leap from animals to humans. This is where we get some hits like Ebola, COVID, and the bubonic plague. And I don't need to remind you of the horrors of these diseases, but I will. For example, Ebola causes a hemorrhagic fever. You bleed from your eyes, your mouth, your nose, the rest, and then you die in short order. As the climate warms, species are driven northward to follow their climatic zones, if you would. This includes species of ticks, which transmit Lyme, encephalitis-causing viruses, and West Nile. Yeah. Encephalitis isn't pretty, my friends. You are lucky if all you walk away with is permanent brain damage. Extreme weather events, which are growing in frequency, are too implicated in the increased burden of infectious diseases. Mosquitoes, the carriers of a bunch of other fun bugs like malaria, experience a boom in population following floods and flock to limited water sources following droughts. So there's really no winning with them ever. And if they're congregating where the water remains, that means they're going to be congregating where people are, and there will be more bites and more disease transmission. Adjacently, extreme weather events displace communities. Emergency refugee camps must be constructed after major floods or typhoons or tsunamis. And these camps are hotbeds of infectious diseases. they're known to harbor diseases like tuberculosis, cholera, and norovirus. Floods, typhoons, and hurricanes especially are associated with our good pal cholera. Think the Oregon Trail. You cannot imagine the sheer quantity of violent diarrhea that followed Hurricane Katrina. Citibank and its comrades in arms do not give a shit about you shitting blood. Citi does not care about your health, and Citi does not care about your safety. Jane Fraser and Val Smith will never factor in the suffering of anyone, Citi employees or otherwise, unless it bites into their profit margins. I cannot stress to you enough how the work being done in this building directly benefits nasty bugs, the likes of which most of us have only ever seen on TV. We deserve better, and we can do better. Citibank, shame on you. Your disgusting practices are fouling our bodies.
We are unstoppable. Another world is possible. 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 That was Griffin Gowdy, ladies and gentlemen. He's a PhD student at Columbia University Irving Medical Center, and he studies bad bugs. He knows what he's talking about. He also works with Scientist Rebellion and Planet Over Profit. The next scientist we have for you today is Ilana Ariel Cohen. Where is she? Here. Hi. Ilana Cohen is a co-founder of the Campus Climate Network and former leader of the Fossil Fuel Divest Harvard campaign. Woo! She's a freelance journalist and contributor to The Nation, and she will be entering NYU Law this fall as an LLIJ Joyce Lewison Scholar. Go girl! Full disclosure before I start, also a social scientist, not a scientist, but that's why I'm here today. That's how I listen to the people who are doing the climate science. But I'm here today not just as a climate activist, not just as a political theorist or philosopher, but also as a lifelong New Yorker who watched my skies turn orange from Canadian wildfire smoke just a year ago. As a New Yorker who's terrified of what yet another hottest summer on record will bring to my city. Who knows what rising sea levels and increasing storm surges mean for the streets that I grew up on, including here in downtown Manhattan. And who refuses to be quiet while Citibank and Wall Street threaten my future and my home. As an undergraduate at Harvard, I spent years fighting for fossil fuel divestment. My peers and I tried every tactic you can imagine, and when the Harvard Corporation told us it couldn't be done and tried to shut us down,
lost.
we didn't.
This is the way. Right here. Steeply progressive.
And you know what?
Those look like nice shoes. I bet your parents have been to Europe recently. They should have paid $100,000. Now, scientists don't say that. Scientists don't say that.
No more gas! Keep on burning it in the soil! No more gas! No more oil! Keep on burning it in the soil! No more gas! No more oil! Keep on burning it in the soil! No more gas!
You're wearing
Keep on burning it in the soil! No more gas! No more oil! Keep on burning it in the soil! No more gas! No more oil! Keep on burning it in the soil! No more gas! No more oil! Keep on burning it in the soil! No more gas! No more oil! Keep on burning it in the soil!
This is the last. Right here. Go.
No more gas! No more oil! Keep on burning it in the soil! No more gas! No more oil! Keep on burning it in the soil!
Hey, great to see you, man. It's all good.
Hot out here.
Oh, no, it's already covered, bro. Yeah, they covered it for you.
All right, we're activists. We're used to it. After years of fighting for from fossil fuels, so it can be done. We won because we disrupted the status quo. We refused to accept business as usual. We took creative action, storming the field at the 2019 Harvard-Yale game at halftime, taking unprecedented legal action. We won because we refused to stay silent when we knew that our degrees were complicit in climate catastrophe. And we won because we persisted, even when the university administration and the fossil fuel industry tried time and time again to push us down. And we're not stopping there. Now that we've gotten countless universities to divest, we students and young people have a very clear message for Wall Street. You better follow their lead and listen up. You represent over 1 billion of your potential customers. And we're not going to put our money into institutions that are literally banking on the destruction of our future. We're not going to stand by silently and watch you invest in companies that are making a just energy transition impossible. I'm here today as the co-founder of the Campus Climate Network. Oh, thank you. That's great. As a young person and a recent graduate, to say that we stand with the scientists, we stand with the researchers, and we stand with the communities on the front lines that are fighting for climate justice every day. We know that fossil fuel companies are spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year fighting tooth and nail against climate policy. We know they're launching greenwashing campaigns about algae biofuels and plastics recycling and carbon capture when they're really fighting the energy transition. And we know, according to reporting by The Guardian, that the dozen largest oil companies, including ExxonMobil, BP, Shell, and Chevron, are spending $103 million a day on average every day through the rest of this decade, exploiting new oil and gas fields that can't be burned if we're going to stay below 2 degrees of warming. That's why every dollar invested in the fossil fuel industry is a dollar stolen from our futures. Already we see the impact of a dramatically warmer world. We see people dying and being displaced, species going extinct, raging fires and floods swallowing whole neighborhoods. We can't afford another moment of inaction. That's why we at Campus Climate Network are here to support the Summer of Heat. That's why we're organizing students and academics around the world to hold our institutions accountable, not just for divestment, but for cutting all ties with big oil. And we're calling on them to refuse tainted fossil fuel money for essential climate research, because we know how well documented it is that fossil fuel money Science Hub for Climate Litigation at the Union of Concerned Scientists. Dr. Phillips is an ecosystem scientist with research experience in wildfire and forest carbon dynamics. Thank you for bringing your expertise here today, Dr. Phillips.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Hi, I'm here to talk today about the carbon that's in our atmosphere. Let's talk about that for a second. There is more carbon in our atmosphere right now than at any time in the history of our species. What that means is that it's warm, very warm, as we know. What else we know is that climate change has already nearly doubled the amount of area burned in forest fires. Like Alana was saying, that's turning our skies orange. We also know that it's only going to get hotter, it's only going to get drier, and that these fires will continue. But what we also know is that those fires and the consequences of climate change can be traced directly to the companies that Citibank is funding. We know that nearly 40% of that same burned area in Western North America is attributable to emissions from the largest carbon-producing corporations. We know that they are responsible for nearly 40% of the increase in global average surface temperature. We have science that shows these connections directly. There is no longer time to ignore, no longer an excuse that we don't have enough information. These companies have lied to us and deceived us for decades, and it's time that they're held accountable. All right, let's hear it for Dr. Phillips. And let's have a moment of saying why we're here. Hey, hey, ho, ho, fossil fuels have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, fossil fuels have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, fossil fuels have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, fossil fuels have got to go. All right, everybody, thank you so much. The next scientist up today is More Keshet. More Keshet is an echo art therapist and Long Island regional coordinator for the Climate Psychology Alliance. Are they in the house? They're not in the house. Guess who's coming up next? Sorry, I didn't know.